Thanks to environment reporter Laura Paskus for that story. We reached out to the Roosevelt Soil and Water Conservation District. That's the group trying to use state funding to do the summertime seeding, but they didn't respond to follow-up questions to talk. Let's bring back the line panel one final time to recap the Democratic Party's pre-primary convention. With Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham as the unanimous incumbent, the race for AG was the headline. State Auditor Brian Colon won the majority of votes. And Laura, let me ask you this, is this an important race for Democrats?
Absolutely. I think this is a key race. Democrats have held that seat for several terms, going back obviously quite far, and it tends to be a stepping stone to other positions. Tom Udall obviously went on to become senator. There's been others that have gone on from there. Gary King was attorney general, but did not successfully, was not able to be governor, but others have. And so I think it's an important race. But more importantly than that, there's also so much crime in the state, and there are so many issues that in terms of the consumer division, the utilities division, there's other areas of the Attorney General's office that are super important to New Mexicans. So I think this is a key race. Steve,
interestingly, 2 weeks ago we broke down the Republican convention here on the show and eventually made our way to the question, are these pre-primary conventions useful or just an added opportunity for a potential PR gaffe?
Well, I was very happy that both parties held their pre-primary conventions in the state this time.
Oh, that's right.
Rather than going to Amarillo like the Republicans did last year.
Forgot about that.
But, I guess maybe there's some business that the parties need to take care of, but choosing who's going to be on the ballot, it's just a useless exercise. You mentioned Gary King a minute ago, Laura. I remember when the Democrats had their pre-primary back in 2014, Howie Morales, who was a state senator at the time, just swept it. And coming in very last was Gary King. Yet somehow a couple of months later, he won the nomination. Now this time, the Republicans went, who's the guy who won? Commissioner Block. And Mark Ronchetti, who's probably the best known, got less than the amount needed. I think he got 10% or so. I forget his percentage number. But if anybody thinks that he's not going to get better than that in the primary, you're crazy. It just seems useless. He's going to be on the ballot anyway because he got petition signatures, and that goes for all the Democrats too. So it just seems like kind of a pep rally type thing that's ultimately useless.
Senator, there's some value in the pep rally, of course. It's sort of like kicks off the season. We all get to see each other, breathe each other, all that kind of a thing. But again, at the end of the day, what are they worth for candidates?
A pep rally. That's all I see them as. You get to stand up and say, I'm the most wonderful. You should vote for me. I don't think I will always remember the Gary King situation. That's the one that most vividly. But I was trying to think, and I've talked to several people. I can't remember exactly when was the last one, unless they were an outstanding or a unanimous candidate where they went on to win the primary. There's two thoughts on my part. I just think anybody who wants to run for office should be allowed to do so. And that pre-primary conventions traditionally are full of the party faithful, the advocates, the stronger of them. And so I don't see that as always reflecting the entire mental attitude of the rest of the party. So I think that that's something that gets missed. And I think that's a little deceptive for the ones who win, I bet Howie still thought he should have won that race, but it didn't turn out that way.
I think he came in third.
Yeah, something like that. So
the thing is,
and just quickly, the other thing I learned is that in 1972, little history here, is the Republicans had Senator Domenici running for Senate. That was it. Didn't have a problem, no question. He won the pre-primary convention. But the Democrats had 32 candidates. And shortly thereafter, it was changed and the law put in place that adjusts. And I'm not sure that those numbers are exactly correct, but it was a whole bunch of people on the Democrat side. And so the pre-primary convention was put in place, and that's back in 1972. So
it almost sounds like an Albuquerque mayoral race back when we used to have 15, 16 candidates. Senator, let me jump in, Senator, real quick. I appreciate it. We're just a little short on time on this segment. I want to ask Laura something here real quick. As we digest this results from the convention, we're also learning, guys, about a new PAC from an Albuquerque City Councilor, Luis Sanchez, backing what he calls moderate Democrats in contested races. Now, of course, this seems to be part of a nationwide trend in the Democratic Party. But Laura, is this the right play to win seats in a state like New Mexico?
Well, that's a good question, Gene. It's not the first time that there's been an effort to try to have more moderate Democrats elected. But as you said, it is a nationwide trend. Mm-hmm. If you look at Ocasio-Cortez in New York, there's a lot of efforts to try to get a more moderate person in that seat than the far left that she's been perceived as. I think in New Mexico, part of the concern is that places like, for example, Deming, my hometown, where you have John Arthur Smith, a progressive group went down there, unseated him in the primary, basically got a more progressive person in there, and now it's flipped Republican. And the bottom line is that it's going to be very hard to get that Republican out of that seat without a whole lot of effort. So the problem that I think Democrats need to understand is that if we continue to elect to only get the most progressive, and this goes for the Republicans too, the most, those that tend more towards the far extremes of the party, then when it comes to the general, you're going to have a real tough time getting the base, and especially those declined estates, to vote for that same person. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where this is coming from. What's interesting to me is that you have the folks involved that you do. Luis Sanchez is definitely much more moderate, former police officer, new to the city council. But then you also have James Hallinan, who's working on this. He's no political novice. I mean, he's been around for quite a long time as a political person. Mm-hmm. He was also involved, and I somewhat hate to bring this up because I think there's both two sides of this, but he's the one who had the complaint against the governor about sexual harassment during her campaign. And then there was a payout from her campaign on that whole thing, which to me as a lawyer, settlements just don't necessarily mean guilt. It just means that it needs to be settled. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's going to be a very interesting PAC to watch and an interesting season. But I do want to say with regard to the pre-primary, I think there's still a lot to be said for a candidate getting up in front of a big crowd, whether it is the party faithful or not, and being able to say, this is why I'm running for office. Mm-hmm. And that 50-year-old example you gave, Diane, Senator, was really important. I mean, to have 32 people running,
10 seconds,
how do you even begin to figure out who the right person should be? So it's a vetting process.
Good points there. I'm glad you got it in. Thanks again to the Line panel. Oh, awesome as always. All right, be sure to let us know what you think about any of the topics the Line covered on our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages.